Close your eyes, let your breath slow, let the weight of the day fall away. Tonight, we're going to descend into a kingdom, not quickly, not with any sense of urgency, but slowly, carefully, the way you might walk through ruins at dusk, noticing what remains, what was lost, what still echoes in the empty halls. Hollow Knight is a game about a fallen kingdom, about a civilization that tried to be eternal and failed, about the specific shapes that loss takes when it happens slowly, when a kingdom doesn't fall in a single catastrophic moment but erodes, piece by piece, until only ghosts and memories remain. We're going to walk through those ruins tonight, through the saddest facts, the most heartbreaking details, the small tragedies that Team Cherry wove into every corner of Hallownest. Not to make you sad, but to honour what was lost, to remember, to sit with the weight of it all in the gentle way that sleep allows. Some of these facts you may know, some will be new. All of them are true to the game's lore, carefully researched, respectfully told. And between them, we'll pause, we'll breathe, we'll let the sadness settle without drowning in it. Before we begin, I want to speak to you directly. If you're here, listening to this, then you're someone who loves Hollow Knight enough to want to fall asleep to its saddest truths. That's a specific kind of love. The kind that doesn't look away from pain, that finds beauty in tragedy, that understands that sad stories can be comforting in their own way. If this video helps you sleep, if these facts about a fallen kingdom somehow make your night easier, then I'd be grateful if you'd subscribe. Not because I need the number, but because there are others out there who need exactly this kind of content and don't know it exists yet. Subscribing helps them find it. It tells the algorithm that slow, careful, melancholic videos about games we love are worth making. And if a particular fact resonates with you, if something lands in a way that matters, leave a comment. Just a word, a character's name, a location. Those comments are read, everyone, and they matter more than any metric can measure. The video will be here whether you do any of this or not. But if you stay, if you come back, I hope you will. Now, let's descend into Hallownest together. Let me tell you about the saddest kingdom ever built. The Pale King created Hallownest by giving bugs the gift of mind. Before him, there were creatures of instinct operating on base programming, alive but not conscious. He arrived, a higher being, and his light gave them thought, gave them self-awareness, gave them the ability to build civilization. This gift was not free. The Pale King's light severed the bugs from the radiance, an ancient moth goddess who had ruled through dreams and instinct. The bugs forgot her, chose the Pale King's clarity over her warm, mindless unity. And she did not forgive this. The infection that eventually destroyed Hallownest was the Radiance's revenge. She reached out through dreams, through the space where she still existed in the bug's ancestral memory, and she pulled them back. Not to instinct, but to something worse, a corrupted half-state between thought and thoughtlessness, where they remembered just enough to suffer. Every infected bug in Hallownest is a tragedy. They're not monsters, they're citizens, people who had lives and thoughts and relationships, now trapped in a state of perpetual suffering, their minds overwritten by orange light and rage. The Pale King knew this would happen. Not the specifics perhaps, but he knew that severing bugs from the Radiance would have consequences. He chose to do it anyway, because he believed consciousness was worth the cost. He believed that thought, that civilization, that the ability to choose was more valuable than the piece of instinct. He may have been right, but the cost was everything. The Hollow Knight was the Pale King's solution to the infection. A vessel, born of void, raised to be empty, trained to contain the radiance within itself and seal her away forever. The plan was perfect in theory, a being with no mind to infect, no will to break, no thoughts for the radiance to corrupt. But the Hollow Knight was not empty. The Pale King's plan failed at its most fundamental level, because the vessel he chose, the one he raised and trained and sealed the radiance inside, had developed a mind, had thoughts, had feelings. We know this because of a single memory you can access with the Dream Nail. In the White Palace, in the Path of Pain, at the very end there's a memory of the Pale King and the Hollow Knight as a child. The king is there, and the small vessel looks up at him. And the achievement you get for witnessing this memory is called Seal of Binding. The Hollow Knight looked up at its father. It had a thought, a feeling, a moment of connection. It was not hollow. And the Pale King knew in that moment that his plan had already failed. But he sealed it anyway. He took this child, this being that had developed love or loyalty or some form of attachment to him, and he locked it in the Temple of the Black Egg with a goddess screaming inside its mind. The Hollow Knight has been there for an unknown amount of time. Years, certainly. Possibly decades. Alone in the dark, with the radiance tearing at its mind from the inside, slowly breaking through the cracks that shouldn't exist, the thoughts and feelings that were supposed to be absent. By the time you fight the Hollow Knight, it's barely holding on. Its movements are erratic, desperate. Partway through the fight, it starts stabbing itself, trying to contain the radiance, trying to fulfill its purpose even as it fails. It's still trying to be what it was made to be, even though it's impossible, even though it's in agony. If you have the Void Heart and the right conditions, Hornet intervenes in the fight. She holds the Hollow Knight down and you can Dream Nail it, entering its mind to fight the radiance directly. In that moment, the Hollow Knight is freed. Not saved, but freed. Released from a burden it should never have been asked to carry. The Hollow Knight's theme music is called Sealed Vessel. It's one of the most beautiful and heartbreaking pieces in the game's soundtrack. It's tragic, mournful, and it plays during a fight where you're essentially mercy killing a being that's been suffering alone in the dark for longer than you can imagine. The Pale King had other children, thousands of them. The vessels were not a single attempt but a mass production, a kingdom-wide project to create the perfect empty being. The abyss is where the vessels were born. The Pale King and the White Lady, his queen, had children together. But these were not normal children. They were thrown into the abyss, into the void, to be transformed, to be made hollow. Most of them died. The abyss is filled with the corpses of failed vessels, small broken shells piled on top of each other, a mass grave of the Pale King's discarded children. The vessels that survived the abyss were tested. They had to climb out, had to prove they were strong enough, empty enough, worthy enough. Most failed this test too. The birthplace cutscene shows you this. Small vessels trying to climb, falling, dying, while the Pale King watches from above. The Hollow Knight made it out. So did the Knight, the character you play as. But the Knight was left behind, deemed imperfect, not chosen. It fell back into the abyss, and the Pale King sealed the door, trapping all the failed vessels inside. The Knight escaped somehow, left Hallownest entirely, and wandered the wastes outside the kingdom for an unknown amount of time. It has no memory of this. It returns to Hallownest not knowing why, drawn by something it doesn't understand. The Knight is the Pale King's discarded child, returning to a kingdom that doesn't remember it, to fix a problem it didn't create. to fulfill a purpose it was never chosen for. Hornet is the Pale King's daughter, but not a vessel. She was born of the Pale King and Hera the Beast, the Queen of Deepnest, as part of a bargain. Hera agreed to become a dreamer, to help seal the Hollow Night in exchange for a child. Hornet is not void. She's alive in a way the vessels aren't, with thoughts and feelings and a voice. She's also alone. Her mother is asleep, possibly forever. Her father is dead. Her sibling, the Hollow Knight, is sealed away and suffering. She guards the kingdom's ruins, fighting anyone who enters, testing them. She's looking for someone strong enough to end this, to fix what her father broke, to free her sibling from its torment. When you fight Hornet the second time, in Kingdom's Edge, she's not trying to kill you. She's testing you, making sure you're strong enough for what's coming. And when you win, she acknowledges you, calls you Little Ghost, and lets you pass. Hornet knows what you are. She knows you're a vessel, one of the discarded ones, one of the failures, and she's putting her hope in you anyway, because there's no one else left. In the endings where you take the Hollow Knight's place, Hornet is there. She tries to stop you, realizes what you're about to do, and she screams no as the door seals. You've just condemned yourself to the same fate as your sibling, and she has to watch it happen again. In the sealed siblings ending, Hornet is sealed inside the black egg with you. She's trapped in there, in the dark, with a sibling who's now a prison for a goddess. She's alive, conscious, and she's going to be there for a very long time. The only ending where Hornet isn't trapped or left alone is the Dream No More ending, where you defeat the Radiants completely. But even then, the night dies, dissolves into void, ceases to exist. Hornet is free, but she's still alone. The Dreamers are 3 bugs who volunteered to seal the Hollow Night in the Temple of the Black Egg: Hera the Beast, Lurien the Watcher, and Monomon the Teacher. They entered eternal sleep, their dreams becoming the locks on the temple, ensuring the Hollow Night could never escape. They did this knowing they would never wake up, knowing they were giving up their lives, their futures, everything they might have been, to maintain a seal that was already failing. Hera did it for her daughter. The bargain was clear. She would become a dreamer in exchange for a child with the Pale King. She wanted Hornet to exist, and she paid for that existence with eternal sleep. Hera sleeps in Deepnest, in the Beast Den, surrounded by her people. But her people are infected now, or dead, or transformed into monsters. The kingdom she protected by sleeping is gone, and she doesn't know. She's still asleep, still dreaming, still holding the seal. Lurien did it out of loyalty. He was the Watcher, the Pale King's most devoted follower, and when his king asked him to sleep forever, he agreed without hesitation. His last act before sleeping was to seal his own butler, Quirrell's master, in the Watcher's spire with him, so that no one could reach him, so that the seal would be secure. Lurien sleeps in his tower, overlooking the City of Tears, watching nothing. The city he loved is in ruins. The king he served is dead, and he's still there, still loyal, still dreaming. Monomon did it out of duty. She was the teacher, the head of the archives, and she understood what was at stake. But she also understood that her seal made her a target, that someone would eventually come to break it. So she created the Umu, a massive jellyfish creature, to guard her, and she asked Quirrell, her student, to take her mask far away, to make it harder for anyone to reach her. Monomon sleeps in the teacher's archives, in the fog of the lake, surrounded by her research. All that knowledge, all that learning, and it couldn't save the kingdom. It couldn't prevent this. When you kill the dreamers, you're not really killing them. You're waking them up, in a sense releasing them from their eternal sleep. But you're also dooming the kingdom, breaking the seal, allowing the infection to spread further. You have to kill them to progress, to reach the Hollow Knight, to have any chance of fixing this. But it's not a happy thing. It's a necessary tragedy. Quirrell is Monomon's student. He left Hallownest long ago carrying Monomon's mask, protecting her seal by keeping it far away. But he forgot why he left, forgot what he was protecting, forgot everything except a vague sense of purpose. He returns to Hallownest around the same time as the knight. You meet him throughout your journey, and he's always kind, always thoughtful, always wondering about the ruins, about what this place used to be. When you return Monomon's mask to the archives, Quirrell is there. He remembers everything, his teacher, his purpose, the reason he left. And he helps you break the seal, helps you kill his teacher, because he understands that it's necessary. After Monomon dies, Quirrell goes to the Blue Lake. He sits there, looking at the water, and he leaves his nail behind. The implication is clear, though the game never shows it explicitly. Quirrell has fulfilled his purpose, and he has nothing left to live for. Some players believe Quirrell doesn't die, that he just leaves his nail and walks away, finally free. But the symbolism is heavy, and Team Cherry has never confirmed either way. The ambiguity is its own kind of sadness. Myla is a miner you meet in the Crystal Peak. She's cheerful, optimistic, singing while she works. She's mining for crystals and she's happy to see you, happy to have someone to talk to. If you return to her later, after you've progressed further in the game, she's infected. The orange light is in her eyes, and she's still mining, but she's not singing anymore. She's just hitting the wall over and over mindlessly. If you return even later, she attacks you. She's fully infected, hostile, and you have to kill her or leave her there. There's no way to save her. The infection takes her, and all you can do is witness it. Myla's transformation is one of the game's most effective examples of the infection's progression. You see her as a person, you hear her sing, you know she has a life and dreams, and then you watch her lose all of it, piece by piece, until there's nothing left but the infection. Her song is called Buried Delight, and it's haunting. The lyrics are about finding treasure, about the joy of discovery, and she sings it while digging her own grave, while succumbing to the thing that will destroy her. The Moss Prophet is a bug in the fungal wastes who worships the infection. He believes it's a blessing, a gift, a return to unity. He wants to be infected, sees it as transcendence rather than destruction. He's not infected when you first meet him. He's chosen this, chosen to worship the thing that's destroying the kingdom, because he believes it's better than the alternative. He believes the Pale King's gift of mind was a curse, and the Radiance's infection is freedom. If you return after defeating certain bosses, he's infected. He got what he wanted, and he's just standing there, orange light in his eyes, no longer speaking, no longer prophesying. He's part of the unity he craved, and it's not transcendence, it's oblivion. The Moss Prophet's tragedy is that he's partially right. The Pale King's gift did come with a cost. Consciousness means suffering, means awareness of mortality, means the ability to feel pain and loss. But the infection isn't the answer. It's not freedom. It's just a different kind of prison. Cloth is a warrior you meet in the fungal wastes. She's travelling through Hallownest, looking for adventure, looking to prove herself. She's friendly, enthusiastic, and she clearly admires the knight's strength. You can encounter her in several places, and each time she's fighting, testing herself, trying to be brave. She talks about her journey, about wanting to be a great warrior, about finding her courage. In the Traitor Lord fight, if you've met her enough times, she appears to help you. She fights alongside you, and she's genuinely helpful, dealing damage and drawing aggro. It's one of the few times in the game where you have a true ally in combat. But Cloth dies in that fight. After you defeat the Traitor Lord, she's mortally wounded. She tells you she's glad she could help, glad she could be brave, glad she could die in battle like a true warrior. And then she dies, and her body remains there, in the Queen's gardens, forever. Cloth wanted to be a hero. She wanted to matter, to be brave, to die well, and she got what she wanted. But it's still sad, still a loss, still a person who could have lived and chose to die for a cause that wasn't even hers. If you don't encounter her enough times, she doesn't appear in the Traitor Lord fight. Instead, you can find her in Dirtmouth at the very end of the game, and she's disappointed in herself, feels like she failed, like she wasn't brave enough. She survived, but she considers it a failure. Either way, Cloth's story is sad. Either she dies achieving her dream, or she lives feeling like she failed. There's no happy ending for her. Tizo's a warrior who comes to Hallownest looking for glory. He wants to fight in the Colosseum of Fools, wants to prove himself, wants to be remembered as a great fighter. You meet him a few times on his journey toward the Colosseum. He's confident, cocky, sure of his abilities. He doesn't think much of the night, sees you as just another bug in the ruins. You never see Tiso fight. By the time you reach the Colosseum, he's already dead. His body is in the tunnel leading to the Colosseum, broken, discarded. He didn't even make it to the arena. He died in the approach, killed by the game's equivalent of trash mobs. Tizo's shield is there, next to his body. You can't take it, can't use it, can't do anything with it. It's just there, a memorial to a warrior who wanted glory and found only an anonymous death in a forgotten tunnel. The Colosseum of Fools is a gladiatorial arena where bugs fight for entertainment. It's run by the Fool, a large bug who loves combat, who sees fighting as the highest form of expression. The bugs who fight in the Colosseum are there by choice. They're warriors, fighters, people who have nothing left but combat, and they die there, in the arena, for the entertainment of a crowd that's mostly gone. The Colosseum still operates even though Hallownest has fallen. The Fool is still there, still running the fights, still believing in the glory of combat even though there's no kingdom left to glorify it. When you fight in the Colosseum, you're fighting other warriors, other bugs who are just trying to survive, trying to find meaning in combat. And you kill them, because that's what the Colosseum demands, because that's the only way forward. The Trial of the Fool is the hardest challenge in the Colosseum. It's brutal, unforgiving, and at the end you fight God Tamer, a warrior who rides a massive beast. When you defeat them, they die together, warrior and beast, partners to the end. God Tamer's arena is filled with the corpses of other fighters. The Colosseum is a meat grinder, and everyone who enters knows they're probably going to die there. But they enter anyway, because what else is there? What else is left in a fallen kingdom but the chance to die with a weapon in your hand? The Mantis Lords are the leaders of the Mantis tribe, a proud warrior culture that lives in the fungal wastes. They're honourable, disciplined, and they've maintained their culture even as Hallownest fell around them. The Mantis tribe refused the infection. When the Radiants reached out, when other bugs succumbed, the Mantis tribe said no. They maintained their minds, their honour, their way of life through sheer force of will. But it cost them. Some Mantis chose the infection, chose the Radiants, and they became traitors. The Traitor Lord led them, and the tribe split. and the Mantis Lords had to fight their own people. When you fight the Mantis Lords, it's not out of hostility. It's a test, a challenge, a way of determining if you're worthy of respect, and if you defeat them, they bow to you. They acknowledge your strength, and they open the path to Deepnest. The Mantis Lord's respect is one of the few genuinely positive interactions in the game. They're not infected, not corrupted, not broken. They're still themselves, still honourable, still maintaining their culture in the ruins. But they're also alone. Their tribe is diminished. Their traitors are in the Queen's gardens, and they're holding a territory that doesn't matter anymore, maintaining honour in a kingdom that's forgotten what honour means. The traitor lord is the Mantis who chose the infection. He led a faction of the tribe to the Radiance, and they were exiled, cast out, declared traitors. The traitor lord and his followers live in the Queen's gardens now, infected, hostile, attacking anything that enters. They're not mindless like other infected bugs, but they're not themselves either. They're something in between, corrupted but still capable of coordinated action. When you fight the traitor lord, he's fast, aggressive, and he fights with the skill of a Mantis warrior. But he's also infected, and that infection has twisted him, made him something other than what he was. The traitor lord's daughter is in the Queen's gardens too. She's infected, and she attacks you on sight. She's just another enemy, another infected bug, but she's also someone's child, someone who had a life before the infection took her. The tragedy of the Mantis tribe is that they did everything right. They refused the infection, maintained their honour, stayed true to themselves, and they still lost people, still had to watch their own become traitors, still had to fight their own family. Deepnest is the most unsettling area in Hollow Knight. It's dark, full of spiders and other creatures, and it feels hostile in a way other areas don't. It's not infected, but it's not safe either. It's just wrong. Deepnest was Hera's kingdom. She was the beast, the queen of this place, and her people lived here in the dark, in the webs, in the deep places under Hallownest. When Hera became a dreamer, when she went to sleep, Deepnest lost its queen, and without her, the place fell into chaos. The creatures there are hostile, territorial, and they attack anything that enters. Hera's people are still there, but they're not a kingdom anymore. They're just creatures in the dark, surviving, existing, without purpose or direction. Nosk is a creature in Deepnest that mimics other bugs. It lures you in by taking the shape of something familiar, something safe, and then it reveals itself and attacks. Nosk's lair is filled with corpses, shells of bugs who were lured in, who thought they were seeing a friend or a familiar face, and who died when Nosk revealed itself. Nosk is not infected, it's just a predator, a creature that evolved to hunt in Deepnest darkness. But there's something especially cruel about its method, about the way it uses hope and recognition as bait. When you fight Nosk, it takes the shape of the night. You're fighting yourself, or a twisted version of yourself, and it's unsettling in a way that goes beyond mechanics. The grubs are small creatures trapped in glass jars throughout Hallownest. They're helpless, imprisoned, and they cry out when you approach. You can free the grubs by breaking the jars. Each one you free returns to the grub father in the Forgotten Crossroads, and he's grateful, happy to see his children return. If you free all 46 grubs, something horrible happens. When you return to the grub father, he's enormous, bloated, and the grubs are gone. The implication is clear. He ate them. He consumed his own children. The game never explains why. Maybe it's a natural part of the grub's life cycle. Maybe the Grubfather went mad. Maybe it's just the way things are in Hallownest, where even rescue leads to tragedy. The grubs make happy sounds when you free them. They're excited, grateful, eager to return home, and you lead them to their deaths unknowingly because you thought you were helping. Millabelle is a banker in the City of Tears. She offers to hold your geo for you, keeping it safe, and she even pays interest. She seems trustworthy, professional, helpful. If you deposit enough geo with her, she disappears. She takes all your money and runs, fleeing to the pleasure house in the City of Tears, where she hides in a secret room. You can find her and get your money back with interest by hitting her repeatedly until she gives it up. But the betrayal stings. In a kingdom full of tragedy, someone still found time to run a scam, to take advantage of trust. Millabelle's betrayal is small compared to the kingdom's larger tragedies, but it's personal, direct, and it reminds you that even in ruins, people will still hurt each other for profit. The City of Tears is the most beautiful area in Hallownest. It's a massive underground city with elegant architecture, glowing blue lights, and rain that falls perpetually from the ceiling. The rain is artificial. The city was built with a system that creates rain, that makes water fall from the cavern ceiling, because the bugs who built it wanted to recreate the surface, wanted to have rain even in the deep underground. The City of Tears is mostly empty now. The citizens are infected, or dead, or hiding. The streets are quiet except for the sound of rain and the occasional infected bug wandering aimlessly. There are still some uninfected bugs in the city. They hide in their homes, lock their doors, and wait. They don't know what they're waiting for. They just know they can't leave, can't fight, can't do anything but survive another day. Lem is a relic seeker in the City of Tears. He collects artifacts from Hallownest's past, trying to preserve history, trying to understand what this kingdom was before it fell. Lem is one of the few bugs in the game who's actively trying to remember, to document, to keep the past alive. He pays you for relics, and he talks about what they mean, what they tell us about Hallownest's culture. But Lem is alone in this. No one else cares about history anymore. The kingdom is dying, and he's trying to preserve it, trying to make sure something remains even after everyone is gone. Lem's dedication is admirable, but is also futile. The relics he collects will outlast him, but who will care about them after he's gone? Who will remember what they mean? The Soul Master is the boss of the Soul Sanctum, a place where scholars studied soul, the magical energy that all bugs possess. The Soul Master was the head of this research, and he was trying to find a way to stop the infection. His solution was to harvest soul from other bugs, to take their life energy and use it to become powerful enough to resist the infection. He experimented on citizens, killed them, drained them, all in the name of research. The Soul Sanctum is filled with the corpses of his victims. Bugs who came seeking help, seeking a cure, and who were used as test subjects, drained of their soul and discarded. The Soul Master succeeded in a way. He's not infected. He's powerful, bloated with stolen soul, and he's maintained his mind. But he's also insane, obsessed, and he's killed hundreds of people in his quest for a solution that only works for him. When you fight the Soul Master, he's desperate, manic, convinced that his research is important, that his methods are justified, and when you kill him, he doesn't drop anything useful. His research dies with him. All those deaths, all that suffering, and it accomplished nothing. The Watcher Knights are 6 armoured warriors who guard the entrance to the Watcher's Spire. They're powerful, coordinated, and they attack in pairs, making them one of the game's hardest fights. The Watcher Knights are wearing Hegemal's armour. Hegemal was one of the 5 great knights, a massive warrior who served the Pale King. His armour was taken, and these smaller bugs are wearing it, using it, pretending to be something they're not. Hegemal himself is gone. He retreated into dormancy somewhere, and his armour was found and repurposed. The Watcher Knights don't know whose armour they're wearing. They don't know they're desecrating the memory of one of Hallownest's greatest warriors. The Watcher Knights are loyal to Lurien, guarding his seal even though the kingdom has fallen, even though there's nothing left to protect. They're still doing their duty, still following orders, still believing it matters. When you kill the Watcher Knights, they don't drop anything. They're not infected, not corrupted. They're just guards doing their job, and you have to kill them to progress, to reach Lurien, to break the seal. The White Lady is the Pale King's queen. She's a root, a higher being, and she was the Pale King's partner in creating the vessels. She's the mother of the Hollow Knight, of Hornet, of the Night, of all the thousands of failed vessels in the abyss. The White Lady lives in the Queen's gardens, bound by roots, imprisoned by her own choice. She sealed herself away, afraid of what she might do, afraid of her own nature. When you meet her, she's gentle, sad, and deeply regretful. She knows what she and the Pale King did. She knows about the vessels, about the abyss, about the children they created and discarded, and she's been living with that knowledge alone for years. The White Lady calls you child when you meet her. She recognizes what you are, recognizes that you're one of her children, one of the ones who was thrown away. And she's sorry, but sorry doesn't fix anything. The White Lady gives you half of the King's old charm. The other half is in the White Palace, in the Pale King's workshop. When you combine them, you have the complete Kingsoul, the symbol of Hallownest's rulers. But the Kingsoul is not the end. You take it to the abyss, to the place where you were born, and it transforms into the Void Heart. The symbol of royalty becomes a symbol of the void, of the thing the Pale King tried to use and control. The White Lady remains in the Queen's gardens, bound, alone, waiting. She's not infected, not dead, just there, existing, remembering, regretting. The Pale King is dead. His corpse is in the White Palace, sitting on his throne, impaled by his own weapon. He died alone, in his palace, in the dream realm where he retreated when a kingdom fell. The Pale King was a higher being, something beyond normal bugs, and he chose to become small, to take a bug's form, to rule Hallownest as a king rather than a god. He gave bugs consciousness, built a civilization, created something beautiful, but he also created the vessels. He threw thousands of his own children into the abyss, watched them die, chose one to be a prison, and sealed it away with a goddess screaming inside it. He did this because he believed it was necessary, because he believed the kingdom was worth any cost. The Pale King's workshop in the White Palace is filled with saws and machinery. This is where the vessels were made, where the process began. It's a factory for creating children designed to be empty, designed to suffer. The Path of Pain is a secret area in the White Palace, a brutally difficult platforming challenge. At the end, you see a memory. The Pale King and the Hollow Knight as a child. The king is there, and the small vessel looks up at him. This is the moment the plan failed. This is when the Pale King realized the Hollow Knight had a mind, had feelings, had developed an attachment to him. And he sealed it anyway, because he'd already committed, because there was no other option, because he'd sacrificed too much to turn back. The Pale King's last words found in the White Palace are, "No cost too great." This was his philosophy, his justification, his reason for everything he did. The kingdom was worth any price, any sacrifice, any amount of suffering. But the kingdom fell anyway. All that cost, all that sacrifice, all those dead children, and it didn't work. The infection spread, the seals failed, and Hallownest became ruin. The Pale King died knowing he failed. He died alone in a dream palace, with his kingdom collapsing around him and no way to fix it. Everything he built, everything he sacrificed, and it wasn't enough. Elderbug is an old bug who lives in Dirtmouth, the small town above Hallownest. He's one of the first NPCs you meet, and he's kind, welcoming, and a little lonely. Elderbug has lived in Dirtmouth his whole life. He's watched the town empty out as people left or died, or went down into Hallownest and never came back. He's one of the last ones left, and he stays because it's home, because he doesn't know where else to go. Elderbug talks about the old days, about when Dirtmouth was lively, when there were more people, when the town had a purpose. Now it's just him and a few others, waiting in a town that's slowly dying. If you sit with Elderbug on the bench, he's grateful for the company. He's been alone for so long that just having someone sit next to him matters. It's a small kindness in a game full of tragedy. As you progress, more NPCs come to Dirtmouth. Sly opens a shop. Bretta moves in. The town becomes a little more lively, a little less empty. And Elderbug is happy about this, happy to see the town have life again, even if it's just a few people. But most of these NPCs are refugees, survivors, people who have nowhere else to go. Dirtmouth isn't thriving, it's just the last place left, the final refuge before the kingdom's complete collapse. Bretta is a bug you rescue in the fungal wastes. She's trapped, alone, and when you save her, she returns to Dirtmouth and becomes infatuated with you. Bretta writes stories about the night, romanticizing your adventures, imagining you as a hero who will save her. She builds a shrine to you in her house, and she dreams about you constantly. But the night never responds. You're a vessel, empty, incapable of the kind of relationship Bretta wants. She's projecting her desires onto something that can't reciprocate, and she doesn't realize it. If you complete certain challenges, Bretta meets Zote, another bug who claims to be a great warrior. She transfers her affections to him, starts writing stories about him instead, and eventually she leaves Dirtmouth with him. Zote is a fraud. He's weak, cowardly, and he lies constantly about his accomplishments. But Bretta doesn't see this. She sees what she wants to see, and she follows him, chasing a fantasy that will inevitably disappoint her. Bretta's story is sad because she's looking for something real in a kingdom where almost nothing real remains. She wants love, wants heroism, wants meaning, and she keeps attaching those desires to people who can't or won't fulfill them. Zote is a warrior you can encounter multiple times throughout the game. He's always in danger, always needing rescue, and he's always ungrateful when you save him. Zote claims to be a great knight, a legendary warrior, but he's weak. His nail is made of shellwood, a material so fragile it can't even damage enemies. He's delusional, convinced of his own greatness despite all evidence to the contrary. You can choose to save Zote or leave him to die. If you save him, he shows up in Dirtmouth and he's dismissive of you, claims he didn't need your help, insults you constantly. If you save Zote enough times, he appears in Bretta's dreams, and you can fight him there. In her dreams, he's powerful, heroic, everything he claims to be. It's a fantasy, a version of Zote that doesn't exist, and Bretta believes in it completely. If you leave Zote to die in Deepnest, he never appears again. Bretta never meets him, never leaves Dirtmouth, and she stays in her house, writing stories about the night, forever infatuated with something that can't love her back. Either way, Zot's story is pathetic. He's a failure who refuses to acknowledge his failures, and he either dies alone in the dark or lives as a fraud, taking credit for things he didn't do. The nailsmith is a master craftsman who lives in the city of tears. He upgrades your nail, making it stronger, sharper, more effective. He's one of the most useful NPCs in the game. The nailsmith is obsessed with his craft. He talks about the perfect nail, about creating something flawless, about achieving mastery. And when you bring him the materials for the final upgrade, he creates it. The pure nail, the strongest weapon in the game. After creating the pure nail, the nailsmith asks you to kill him. He's achieved his life's work, created the perfect nail, and he believes there's nothing left for him. He wants to die at the peak of his achievement, killed by the weapon he created. You can choose to kill him or refuse. If you kill him, he dies happy, fulfilled, at peace with his death. If you refuse, he's initially disappointed, but then he realizes there might be more to life than just his craft. If you spare the nailsmith, he eventually moves in with Shio, one of the nail masters, and they become partners. The nailsmith finds happiness, finds a life beyond his obsession, finds someone to care about. But if you kill him, he gets what he asked for. He dies at the moment of his greatest achievement, and his body remains in his workshop, a testament to a life dedicated entirely to craft. The nailsmith's story is sad either way. Either he dies believing his life's purpose is complete, or he lives realizing he almost threw his life away for a weapon. The nail masters are three brothers who studied under the great nail sage. They each mastered different nail techniques, and they each went their separate ways after their training was complete. Oro lives in the Howling Cliffs, alone, still training, still perfecting his technique. He's bitter, isolated, and he charges you to teach you his nail art. He's dedicated his life to combat, and he has nothing else. Matto lives in the Howling Cliffs as well, but he's different from his brother. He's warm, enthusiastic, and he teaches you his nail art for free. He's happy to see someone interested in the old ways, happy to pass on his knowledge. Sheo lives in Greenpath, and he's given up the nail entirely. He's become a painter, creating art, finding peace in creation rather than destruction. He's the only nail master who seems truly happy. The three brothers haven't seen each other in years. They've drifted apart, each pursuing their own path, and they don't talk anymore. There's no animosity, just distance. Just the slow erosion of family bonds over time. If you learn all three nail arts, you can return to the nail master's graves and pay respects to the great nail sage. It's a small moment, but it's a recognition of a tradition that's almost dead, of knowledge that's being lost. The Godmaster DLC adds the God Home, a place where you can fight stronger versions of every boss in the game. It's challenge mode, a test of skill, and it's brutally difficult. But the God Home is also sad. It's a place of worship, where bugs pray to higher beings, where they seek transcendence through combat, and it's empty, abandoned, maintained only by a few devoted followers. The Godseeker is the main NPC in God Home. She's searching for gods, for beings powerful enough to worship, and she sees the night as a potential god because of your strength. The Godseeker's devotion is absolute. She's dedicated her entire existence to finding and worshipping gods, and she doesn't care about anything else. She's not interested in the night as a person, only as a potential deity. In the Embrace the Void ending, the night becomes a god of void, and the God Seeker witnesses it. She's consumed by the void, destroyed by the very thing she sought to worship. She gets what she wanted, and it kills her. The God Home endings are all tragic in different ways. Either the night becomes a god and destroys the God Seeker, or the night contains the void and disappears, or the night fails and the cycle continues. There's no happy ending in God Home. It's a place of worship that leads only to destruction, a search for transcendence that ends in oblivion. The pale ore is a rare material needed to upgrade your nail. There are only a few in the game, and finding them all requires thorough exploration. One pale ore is in the ancient basin, in a room full of dead vessels. You walk through a corridor lined with the corpses of your siblings, the failed vessels who died trying to climb out of the abyss, and at the end is a pale ore. The game makes you walk through your siblings' corpses to get a weapon upgrade. It's a reminder of what you are, where you came from, what was sacrificed to create you. Another pale ore is given to you by the Grub Father after you rescue 31 grubs. You're rewarded for saving his children, not knowing that you're leading them to their deaths. The pale ore is valuable, useful, necessary for progression, but every piece of it is connected to tragedy, to loss, to the cost of power in a fallen kingdom. The abyss is the deepest part of Hallownest. It's where the void exists, where the vessels were created, where the Pale King's darkest experiments took place. The abyss is filled with void. It's a living darkness, a substance that's not quite alive but not quite dead, something that exists outside normal categories of being. The void is where the vessels came from. The Pale King and the White Lady's children were thrown into the void, transformed by it, made into something that could theoretically contain the radiance. But the void is not empty. It has a will, a purpose, a desire. The Shade Lord, the final form of the void, is a god in its own right, something that rivals the radiance in power. The void wants to be unified. All the scattered pieces, all the vessels, all the shades, they're all part of the same thing, and they want to come together to become whole. The night is void given form. You're not a bug who contains void. You're void shaped like a bug, and throughout the game, you're gathering more void, more power, becoming more of what you truly are. In the Dream No More ending, the night unifies the void, becomes the Shade Lord, and destroys the radiance. It's a victory, but it's also an ending. The night ceases to exist as an individual, dissolves back into the void, becomes part of the whole. Hornet is left alone. The radiance is gone, the infection is ended, but the night is gone too. She's free, but she's lost another sibling, and she's the only one left who remembers what happened. The siblings are the other vessels, the ones who died in the abyss or during the climb out. Their shades appear in the abyss, and if you have the void heart, they recognize you as one of them. The siblings help you in the final fight against the radiance. They appear as the Shade Lord, a massive entity of pure void, and they destroy the radiance from within the Hollow Knight's mind. The siblings are your family. They're the other children of the Pale King and the White Lady, the ones who didn't make it, the ones who were discarded, and in the end they're the ones who save the kingdom, not through individual strength but through unity. The birthplace is a hidden area in the abyss. It's where you can see the memory of the vessel's creation, where you can witness the Pale King watching his children die. The birthplace cutscene is one of the most haunting in the game. You see small vessels trying to climb, falling, dying, while the Pale King watches from above. He's not sad, not regretful. He's just watching, waiting for one to succeed. The Hollow Knight succeeded. It climbed out, proved itself worthy, and the Pale King chose it. And then he sealed the abyss, trapping all the other vessels inside, leaving them to die in the dark. The knight escaped somehow. The game never explains how. You fell back into the abyss, and somehow you got out. Somehow you left Hallownest, somehow you survived. And then you came back, drawn by something you don't understand, to fix a problem you didn't create. The Radiance is the game's final boss, the source of the infection, the reason Hallownest fell. But she's not evil in a simple way. She's a god who was forgotten, who was replaced, who reached out to reclaim what was taken from her. The Radiance ruled the moths before the Pale King arrived. She was their god, and they worshipped her, and they were happy in their worship. They didn't have consciousness in the way the Pale King's subjects did, but they had unity, had purpose, had a connection to something greater than themselves. When the Pale King arrived, the moths abandoned the Radiance. They chose his light over hers, chose consciousness over instinct, chose to forget her. And she was alone, forgotten, sealed away in the dream realm. The Radiance's infection is her attempt to be remembered. She's reaching out through dreams, through the ancestral memory that still exists in bugs' minds, trying to reclaim her worshippers, trying to undo what the Pale King did. But the infection doesn't restore the bugs to what they were. It doesn't give them back the unity they had under the Radiance. It just breaks them, traps them in a state between thought and thoughtlessness, makes them suffer. The Radiance is a tragic figure. She's a god who was abandoned, who's lashing out in pain, who's destroying a kingdom because she can't accept being forgotten. She's not right, but she's not entirely wrong either. When you fight the Radiance, she's desperate, furious, and she's fighting for her existence. If you defeat her, she's destroyed completely, erased from existence, forgotten forever. It's what the Pale King wanted, what Hallownest needed, but it's still the death of a god. The Absolute Radiance, the final boss of the Godmaster DLC, is even more desperate. She's fighting at full power, and she's terrifying, beautiful, and doomed. You're not just defeating her, you're erasing her from reality. The void consumes the Radiance in the Dream No More ending. She's pulled into the darkness, destroyed by the very thing the Pale King created to contain her. It's poetic in a way. The Pale King's final plan works, but only after his death, only through a vessel he discarded. The infection ends when the Radiance dies. The orange light fades from bugs' eyes, and they're free. But they're not restored. The bugs who were infected don't come back. They're just gone. The infection killed them, and defeating the Radiance doesn't bring them back. Hallownest is still a ruin. Defeating the Radiance doesn't rebuild the kingdom, doesn't restore what was lost. It just ends the infection, stops the spread, prevents further damage. But the damage that's already done is permanent. The kingdom will never be what it was. The Pale King is dead, the White Lady is sealed away, the Dreamers are gone, the 5 great knights are scattered or dead or transformed. The civilization that existed is gone, and it's not coming back. The survivors will have to build something new. Not Hallownest, but something else, something that grows from the ruins. And maybe that's okay. Maybe that's the only way forward. But it's still sad. It's still a loss. An entire civilization, an entire culture, an entire way of life gone. Remembered only in ruins, in artifacts, in the stories that Lem collects and no one else cares about. The game ends with ambiguity. You don't see what happens after. You don't see the survivors rebuild or fail to rebuild or leave. You just see the ending you achieved, and then it's over. Hollow Knight is a game about loss, about kingdoms that fall, about plans that fail, about people who try their best and still lose everything. It's sad, deeply sad, and it doesn't apologize for that sadness. But there's beauty in it too. Beauty in the ruins, in the art, in the music, in the way the game treats its tragedy with respect and care. It's sad, but it's not nihilistic. It's not saying nothing matters. It's saying that things matter even when they end, especially when they end. The kingdom fell, but it existed. The people died, but they lived first. The Pale King failed, but he tried. The Hollow Knight suffered, but it held on as long as it could. These things matter, even in failure, even in loss. And you, the knight, the discarded vessel, the one who wasn't chosen, you came back. You descended into the ruins, you fought through the darkness, and you did what no one else could do. You ended the infection, freed your sibling, defeated a god. You mattered. Even though you were thrown away, even though you were deemed imperfect, even though you were never supposed to be the hero, you mattered. This is what Hollow Knight teaches us, that even in the darkest places, even in the saddest stories, even in kingdoms that fall and plans that fail and people who suffer, there's still meaning, there's still purpose, there's still the possibility of doing something that matters. The kingdom is gone, but you were there. You walked through it, you saw it, you remembered it. And in remembering, you kept it alive, at least for a moment, at least in your mind. This is what we do with sad stories. We remember them. We honour them. We sit with them. Let them affect us. Let them teach us something about loss and beauty and the way things end. Hollow Knight is a sad game. These facts are sad facts, but they're also beautiful, carefully crafted, meaningful. They're sad in the way that great tragedies are sad, not pointlessly, not cruelly, but with purpose, with intention, with respect for what's being lost. Let your breath slow now. Let the sadness settle, not as a weight, but as a presence, something you can hold without being crushed by it. We've walked through Hallownest together tonight, through its ruins, its tragedies, its small and large losses. We've seen the Pale King's failure, the Hollow Knight's suffering, the Radiance's rage, the kingdom's slow collapse. We've seen Myla lose herself to the infection. We've seen Quirrell leave his nail by the lake. We've seen Cloth die in battle and Tiso die in a tunnel. We've seen the grubs return home to be consumed, and the vessels die in the abyss, and the dreamers sleep forever. We've seen all of it, and we've honoured it by paying attention, by caring, by letting it matter. And now it's time to rest. The kingdom is quiet now. The infection has ended, or it hasn't, depending on which ending you achieved. But either way, the story is told, the facts are known, the sadness is acknowledged. You don't have to carry it all. You can let it go, let it settle into memory, let it become something you remember rather than something you're actively experiencing. Sleep now. Let Hallownest fade into the gentle dark of rest. Let the ruins remain ruins. Let the ghosts remain ghosts. Let the sadness be sad without consuming you. The kingdom fell, but you're still here. You witnessed it, you honoured it, and now you can rest. The Hollow Knight is free, or you've taken its place, or you've destroyed the Radiance completely. Whatever ending you achieved, whatever choice you made, it's done now. The story is complete, and you can sleep, knowing that you saw it through, that you cared enough to listen to all these sad facts, that you honoured a fallen kingdom by remembering it. Rest now, completely, fully. Let the weight of Hallownest's tragedy settle into something bearable, something that can exist without hurting. The ruins are still there, in the game, waiting for you to return. The kingdom is still fallen, still sad, still beautiful in its tragedy. And it will be there when you wake if you want to visit it again. But for now, just rest. Let the sadness be sad. Let the loss be loss. Let the tragedy be tragic. And let yourself be at peace with it. Let yourself sleep despite it. Let yourself rest in the knowledge that sad stories can be beautiful, that fallen kingdoms can still matter, that even in the darkest places there is still something worth remembering. Sleep well. The kingdom keeps its silence. The void is still. The radiance is gone or contained or still raging, but either way it's not your burden right now. Right now, you're just here, resting, letting go, allowing yourself to drift into the same gentle dark that covers Hallownest every night. The stars don't shine in the underground. But there's a different kind of light there, a bioluminescence, a glow from crystals and mushrooms and the faint blue of the City of Tears. That light is still there, even in the ruins, even in the sadness, even in the loss, and you can rest in that light, knowing that beauty exists even in tragedy, that meaning exists even in failure, that stories matter even when they're sad. Good night. Let Hallownest hold you in its gentle, melancholic embrace. Let the sadness be a lullaby, soft and slow and strangely comforting. The kingdom fell, but you were there to witness it, and that matters. Sleep now. The ruins are patient. The ghosts are quiet. The story is told. Rest. But before you drift completely, let me tell you a few more things. A few more sad truths about this kingdom, a few more reasons to remember it, a few more pieces of the tragedy that was Hallownest. The Forgotten Crossroads is the first major area you explore. It's a network of tunnels and chambers, relatively safe, relatively simple. It's where you learn the game's mechanics, where you start to understand what Hallownest is. But the Forgotten Crossroads doesn't stay safe. After you kill one of the dreamers, after you break one of the seals, the infection spreads into the crossroads. The area becomes the infected crossroads, filled with orange pustules, infected enemies, and a constant sense of decay. The transformation is dramatic. The music changes from peaceful exploration to unsettling corruption. The enemies become more aggressive, more numerous. The safe starting area becomes dangerous, hostile, wrong. This transformation shows you what the infection does. It doesn't just kill, it corrupts, transforms, makes familiar places alien. The crossroads you knew is gone, replaced by something that wears its shape but isn't it anymore. Some enemies in the infected crossroads are bugs you've seen before, now infected. The wandering husks, the tick-ticks, the crawlids, they were always enemies, but now they're worse, more aggressive, more corrupted. The infected crossroads is a preview of what would happen to all of Hallownest if the infection spread unchecked. Every area would become like this, corrupted, hostile, unrecognizable. The kingdom would cease to exist in any meaningful way. Cornifer is a cartographer who maps Hallownest. You find him in various areas, humming his distinctive tune, and he sells you maps that reveal the layout of each region. Cornifer is one of the few NPCs who's actively exploring, who's going into dangerous areas by choice. He's not a fighter, not particularly strong, but he's dedicated to his craft, to mapping the kingdom, to documenting what's there. Cornifer's wife, Iselda, runs the shop in Dirtmouth. She worries about him, talks about how he's always going into dangerous places, how she wishes he'd be more careful. But she also respects his dedication, understands that this is what he needs to do. Cornifer and Iselda's relationship is one of the few genuinely healthy ones in the game. They care about each other, support each other, and they found a way to be together even though Cornifer's work takes him into danger. But there's sadness in it too. Iselda worries, and she's right to worry. Cornifer is in constant danger, and one day he might not come back. She knows this, and she lives with it, because she loves him, and she can't ask him to be someone he's not. After you've bought all of Cornifer's maps, he returns to Dirtmouth permanently. He's finished his work, mapped the entire kingdom, and now he can stay home with Iselda. It's a happy ending, one of the few in the game. But it also means his life's work is complete. He's mapped a fallen kingdom, documented ruins, created a record of something that's mostly gone. His maps will outlast Hallownest, will be the only proof that these places existed. Sly is a shopkeeper in Dirtmouth. He sells you basic items at first, but as you rescue him from the forgotten crossroads and give him the shopkeeper's key, his inventory expands dramatically. Sly was a great warrior once. He's a nail master, trained in combat, and he's incredibly skilled. But he's old now, retired, and he's chosen to be a shopkeeper instead of a fighter. If you challenge Sly in the Godhome, you fight him at his peak, and he's one of the hardest bosses in the game. He's fast, aggressive, and his nail techniques are devastating. You see what he used to be, what he's capable of when he's not holding back. But in the regular game, Sly is just a shopkeeper. He's left his warrior days behind, chosen a peaceful life, and he's content with that. He's one of the few characters who's made peace with aging, with no longer being what he once was. Sly's contentment is admirable, but it's also tinged with sadness. He was a great warrior, and now he sells charms and masks in a dying town. His glory days are behind him, and he's okay with that, but it's still a loss. The Pale Lurker is a boss in the Colosseum of Fools. It's a mysterious creature, and very little is known about it. It doesn't speak, doesn't have lore entries, doesn't explain itself. The Pale Lurker drops a journal entry that simply says it's a pale creature that lurks in the darkness. That's all we know. It's a mystery, an unexplained presence in a game full of mysteries. The Pale Lurker might be connected to the Pale King, might be another higher being, might be something else entirely. The game never tells you, and that ambiguity is its own kind of sadness. There are things in Hallownest that will never be explained, stories that will never be told. The Collector is a boss in the Tower of Love. It's a creature that collects other bugs, trapping them in jars, keeping them as specimens or prisoners. The Collector's lair is filled with jars containing living bugs. They're trapped, helpless, and the Collector's been keeping them there for an unknown amount of time. Some of them might have been there since before the kingdom fell. When you fight the Collector, it releases some of the bugs to fight you. They're not willing allies, they're prisoners being used as weapons, and when you kill them, they're finally free, but freedom comes in the form of death. The Collector itself is not infected, not corrupted, it's just collecting. It's doing what it does, what it's always done, without malice or purpose beyond the act itself. It's a creature of obsession, and that obsession has led to the suffering of countless bugs. The Tower of Love is named ironically. There's no love there, just collection. Just the hoarding of living things by a creature that doesn't understand what it's doing to them. The Grim Child is a charm you receive from the Grim Troop DLC. It's a small creature that follows you and attacks enemies. It's cute, helpful, and it grows stronger as you feed it flames. But the Grim Child is also Grim's child, and feeding it flames is part of a ritual. You're helping it grow, helping it mature, so that it can eventually consume Grim and become the new leader of the troop. The ritual is a cycle. Grimm dies, the child becomes the new Grimm, and eventually that Grimm will have a child who will consume it in turn. It's an endless cycle of death and rebirth, and you're participating in it. You can choose to banish the Grimm troop instead of completing the ritual. If you do, the Grimm child disappears, the troop leaves, and the cycle is broken. But Grimm is disappointed, and you've denied the child its purpose, its destiny. Either way, the Grimm child's story is sad. Either it consumes its father and continues the cycle, or it's banished and never fulfills its purpose. There's no option where the child just gets to be a child, where it's not part of a ritual, where it's not defined by what it will become. Divine is a character in the Grimm troop who eats your charms and makes them stronger. She's enthusiastic, strange, and she talks about how delicious your charms are. Divine is trapped in the troop's cycle, just like everyone else. She's been doing this for countless iterations, eating charms, making them stronger, being part of the ritual. She doesn't seem unhappy, but she's also not free. The Grimm troop is a travelling circus, but it's also a prison. Everyone in it is bound to the ritual, to the cycle, to the endless repetition of the same pattern. They travel, they perform, they complete the ritual, and then they do it all again. Brum is a member of the Grimm troop who's tired of the cycle. He's the one who gives you the option to banish the troop, to break the ritual, to end the endless repetition. If you banish the troop, Brum is freed. He becomes Nim, a musician in Dirtmouth, and he's happy. He's finally free of the cycle, free to be himself, free to make music instead of participating in a ritual. But if you complete the ritual, Brum remains trapped. He's still part of the troop, still bound to the cycle, still repeating the same pattern forever. He wanted freedom, and you denied it to him. The Hive is an area in Kingdom's Edge, home to the bees of Hallownest. It's a structured, organised place with clear hierarchies and purposes. The Hive is dying. The bees are infected, or dead, or barely holding on. Hive Knight, the boss of the area, is one of the last defenders, and he's fighting a losing battle. Hive Knight is loyal to his queen, to his hive, to his purpose. He fights you not out of malice, but out of duty. He's protecting what's left of his home, even though there's almost nothing left to protect. When you defeat Hive Knight, he dies defending his hive. He never wavers, never runs, never gives up. He's loyal to the end, and that loyalty is both admirable and tragic. The hive's queen is dead. You can find her corpse in the hive, and it's clear she's been dead for a while. The Hive Knight is protecting a queen who's already gone, maintaining a structure that's already collapsed. This is the tragedy of duty. Hive Knight is doing what he's supposed to do, what he was made to do, even though it's pointless, even though the thing he's protecting is already lost. He can't stop, can't change, can't be anything other than what he is. The hive's honey is still there, still valuable, still useful, but the bees who made it are gone, and the honey is just a resource now, something to be harvested from a dead civilization. The mantis traitor's daughter is a mini-boss in the Queen's gardens. She's infected, hostile, and she attacks on sight. But she's also just a child, someone who was caught up in her father's choices, who paid the price for his betrayal. The game doesn't give her a name, doesn't give her dialogue, doesn't give her a story beyond being an infected enemy. But she's there, and she's someone's daughter, and she died because of decisions she didn't make. This is one of the game's recurring themes. Children paying for their parents' choices. The vessels pay for the Pale King's plan. Hornet pays for Hera's bargain. The traitor's daughter pays for her father's betrayal. The sins of the parents are visited upon the children, and the children have no say in it, no choice, no way to escape the consequences of decisions made before they were born. The Flukemam is a boss in the royal waterways. It's a massive creature that births smaller flukes constantly, overwhelming you with numbers. The Flukemam is just trying to protect its children. It's not infected, not corrupted, just a mother defending its offspring. And you have to kill it, have to kill its children to progress through the waterways. The Flukemam's lair is filled with flukes. They're everywhere, and they keep coming, and the Flukemam keeps birthing more. It's a mother's desperate attempt to protect its young, and it's futile because you're stronger and you need to get through. After you kill the Flukemam, the flukes in the area become passive. They don't attack anymore. They're just there, orphaned, without purpose, without their mother to protect them. The Dung Defender Ogrim is one of the 5 great knights. He's loyal, enthusiastic, and he's still doing his duty even though the kingdom has fallen. Ogrim guards the royal waterways, maintaining the tunnels, keeping them functional. He's been doing this alone for years, possibly decades, and he's never stopped, never given up, never questioned whether it still matters. When you fight Ogrim, he's happy. He's excited to have a worthy opponent, excited to test himself, excited to do what he was made to do. He's not angry, not hostile. He's just enthusiastic. But underneath that enthusiasm is sadness. Ogrim knows the kingdom has fallen. He knows the Pale King is dead. He knows his fellow knights are gone or transformed or sleeping. He knows he's alone, knows his duty is pointless. But he keeps doing it anyway, because it's what he does, because it's who he is, because stopping would mean admitting that everything he dedicated his life to is gone. After you defeat Ogrim, you can find him in his lair, and he's still cheerful, still friendly. He respects you, acknowledges your strength, and he's not bitter about losing. He's just there, still doing his duty, still being himself. In the God Home, you can fight White Defender, a dream version of Ogrim at his peak. He's stronger, faster, more skilled, and he's covered in white instead of brown. This is what he was like when Hallownest was at its height, when he was one of the kingdom's greatest warriors. The contrast between White Defender and regular Ogrim is stark. White Defender is glorious, powerful, a true knight. Regular Ogrim is still strong, but he's also alone, maintaining sewers, covered in filth, a shadow of what he once was. Ogrim's loyalty is absolute, and that loyalty has kept him going long after everyone else gave up. But it's also trapped him, kept him in a role that no longer matters, kept him from moving on, from finding a new purpose, from being anything other than what he was. The Pale King's throne room in the White Palace is empty. The throne is there, ornate and imposing, but no one sits on it. The king is dead, and the throne is just furniture now, a symbol of authority that no longer exists. The White Palace itself is in the dream realm, accessible only through a special item. It's not a real place anymore. It's a memory, a dream, a ghost of what it used to be. The White Palace is filled with buzzsaws and spikes, deadly traps that kill you instantly. This is the Pale King's palace, and it's designed to kill anyone who enters. It's a fortress, a prison, a place that keeps people out rather than welcoming them in. The Path of Pain is a secret area in the White Palace, and it's one of the hardest platforming challenges in the game. It's brutal, unforgiving, and it takes most players hours to complete. At the end of the Path of Pain, your reward is a memory. Just a memory, a cutscene, a moment from the past. No items, no power-ups, no mechanical rewards. Just the knowledge of what happened, just the confirmation that the Hollow Knight was never truly hollow. The path of pain is named appropriately. It's painful to complete, painful to witness, and the memory at the end is painful to see. It's pain all the way through, and the only reward is understanding, is knowledge, is the confirmation of tragedy. The King's Molds and Wings Molds are enemies in the White Palace. They're constructs, artificial beings created by the Pale King to serve as guards and servants. The molds are empty, truly empty in a way the vessels never were. They have no thoughts, no feelings, no will. They're just constructs following their programming, doing what they were made to do. The Pale King created the molds successfully. They're perfectly empty, perfectly obedient, perfectly functional. But he couldn't use them to contain the radiance because they're not alive, not really. They're just machines in the shape of bugs. The vessels were supposed to be like the molds, empty, obedient, functional. But the vessels were alive, were born, were children. And children develop minds, develop feelings, develop attachments. The Pale King's plan failed because he tried to make living things into machines, and living things don't work that way. The molds are what the vessels were supposed to be, and the fact that the molds exist, that the Pale King could create truly empty beings, makes the vessels' suffering even more tragic. He had a template for emptiness, and he chose to use living children instead. The shade is your death marker. When you die, you leave behind a shade, a dark version of yourself that holds all your geo. You have to return to where you died and defeat your shade to get your geo back. The shade is aggressive, hostile, and it attacks you on sight. It's you, but corrupted, but wrong, but turned against yourself. You have to fight yourself to reclaim what you lost. If you die again before recovering your shade, the first shade disappears, and all that geo is lost forever. The game punishes you for dying twice, for failing to recover, for not being strong enough to reclaim what was yours. The shade is a manifestation of the void. It's what you are underneath the shell, the darkness that gives you form, the thing that the Pale King tried to use and control. Every vessel has a shade. The Hollow Knight has one, though you never see it. The siblings in the Abyss are shades, or they become shades when they die. The void is full of shades, full of the darkness that was supposed to be empty, but never truly was. The Abyss Shriek is a spell you learn in the Abyss. It's a powerful scream, a burst of void energy that damages everything around you. It's one of your strongest abilities, and it comes from the deepest, darkest part of Hallownest. The Abyss Shriek is the sound of the void-given voice. It's a scream of rage, of pain, of existence. The void is not empty, not silent. It has a voice, and that voice is a scream. When you use the Abyss Shriek, you're channeling the void's will, its desire, its rage. You're not just using a spell. You're expressing something fundamental about what you are, about what the void is. The void wants to exist. It wants to be acknowledged, to be unified, to be whole. And the Abyss Shriek is its declaration of existence, its refusal to be nothing, its insistence on being something. The lifeblood creatures are strange beings found in hidden areas. They're blue, glowing, and they give you lifeblood, temporary health that doesn't regenerate but provides extra protection. The lifeblood creatures are not infected, not corrupted, not part of Hallownest's normal ecosystem. They're something else, something separate, something that exists outside the kingdom's usual categories. The lifeblood core is a charm that gives you constant lifeblood. It's useful, protective, and it comes from a hidden area deep in the abyss, in a place that's hard to reach and easy to miss. Lifeblood is described as the old blood, something that existed before the Pale King, before the Radiance, before Hallownest. It's ancient, primal, and it's still there, still flowing, still providing life in a kingdom that's mostly death. The Lifeblood creatures are peaceful. They don't attack, don't threaten, don't do anything but exist and offer their gift. In a game full of hostility, they're a moment of pure benevolence, of something that helps without asking for anything in return. But they're also alone, hidden, forgotten. Most players never find them, never receive their gift, never know they exist. They're offering life in a dying kingdom, and almost no one accepts it. The Moss Prophet's followers are bugs in the fungal wastes who worship the infection. They're not infected themselves, but they want to be. They're waiting for it. They're praying for it. These bugs have chosen to see the infection as salvation rather than destruction. They've looked at the kingdom's collapse and decided that the Pale King's gift of mind was the problem, that consciousness is suffering, that the infection's unity is preferable to individual thought. They're not entirely wrong. Consciousness does mean suffering, does mean awareness of mortality, does mean the ability to feel pain and loss. The Pale King's gift came with a cost, and these bugs have decided the cost is too high. But the infection isn't salvation. It's not a return to peaceful instinct. It's corruption, suffering, a state worse than either consciousness or instinct. The Moss Prophet's followers are waiting for something that will destroy them, and they don't understand what they're asking for. The eternal Emilitia is a statue in the City of Tears. It's a memorial to someone named Emilitia, and bugs come to pray at it, to leave offerings, to remember. We never learn who Emilitia was. The game doesn't tell us. She's just a name on a statue, someone who mattered enough to be memorialized, someone who's now forgotten except for this stone monument. The statue is called Eternal, but nothing is eternal in Hallownest. The kingdom is falling, the city is emptying, and eventually there will be no one left to remember Emilitia, no one left to pray at her statue. The statue will remain, but without anyone to remember what it means. It's just stone. The memory dies even though the monument survives. This is the tragedy of monuments. They're built to last forever, to preserve memory, but memory requires people. Without people to remember, monuments are just objects, just stone and metal, just things that exist without meaning. Hallownest is full of monuments, statues, plaques, memorials, and they're all becoming meaningless because the people who knew what they meant are gone, and the people who remain don't care. The pleasure house in the City of Tears is a building that's never explained. It's just there, with a name that suggests something, but the game never tells you what it was for, what happened there, what it meant. Millibel hides in the pleasure house after she steals your geo. It's a place to hide, a place that's mostly empty, a place that's lost its original purpose. The ambiguity is its own kind of sadness. Hallownest had a pleasure house, had a place for whatever that means, and now it's just a hiding spot for a thief. Just another empty building in a dying city. The resting grounds is an area dedicated to the dead. It's a graveyard, a memorial, a place where bugs came to honour those who had passed. The resting grounds is quiet, peaceful, and full of ghosts. The spirits of the dead linger there, not hostile, just present. They're resting, or they're trapped, or they're waiting for something. The dreamers' shrines are in the resting grounds. This is where you come to break the seals, to kill the dreamers, to end their eternal sleep. It's appropriate that it's in a graveyard, because you're essentially killing them, ending their existence to progress. The resting grounds has a stag station, and the stag who runs it talks about how few passengers he has now, how the kingdom has emptied, how he's one of the last stags still working. The stags are a species that provided transportation throughout Hallownest. They ran the stag stations, connecting different areas, making travel easier. They were essential infrastructure, and now they're almost extinct. The last stag is the only one you meet who's still alive and working. He talks about the other stags, about how they're gone, about how he's the last one, about how he keeps working because it's what he does. The last stag is lonely. He's grateful when you use the stag stations, grateful for the company, grateful to have a purpose again. He's been running empty routes for years, maintaining a transportation system that no one uses anymore. When you unlock all the stag stations, the last stag is happy. He's fulfilled his purpose, connected all the stations, done what stags are supposed to do, but he's also still alone, still the last of his kind, still running routes through a dying kingdom. The stag nest is a hidden area where you can find the remains of other stags. They're dead, their shells empty, and the last stag is the only survivor. The last stag doesn't talk about the nest, doesn't acknowledge the other stags' deaths. He just keeps working, keeps running his routes, keeps being what he is. But he knows he's the last one, and he keeps going anyway. The Spirit's Glade is a hidden area in the resting grounds. It's a beautiful, peaceful place filled with spirits, and there's a memorial there, a statue of the Hollow Knight. The spirits in the glade are at peace. They're not hostile, not suffering, just there, resting. Finally at rest after whatever they went through in life. The memorial to the Hollow Knight is premature. The Hollow Knight isn't dead. It's sealed in the temple of the Black Egg, suffering. But someone built this memorial anyway, honouring it as if it had died, as if its sacrifice was complete. The memorial is both a tribute and a lie. It honours the Hollow Knight's sacrifice, but it also pretends the sacrifice worked, pretends the Hollow Knight succeeded, pretends everything is fine, and none of that is true. The Hollow Knight is still suffering, still failing, still slowly breaking under the weight of the radiance. The memorial is a comfortable fiction, a way for the kingdom to pretend the problem is solved, to pretend the sacrifice was worth it. But the infection is spreading. The seals are failing. The Hollow Knight is breaking, and the memorial stands there, honouring a success that never happened. A sacrifice that wasn't enough. The Grey Mourner is Zima, one of the 5 great knights. She lives in the resting grounds, dressed in grey, mourning someone she loved. Zima asks you to deliver a delicate flower to a grave in the Queen's gardens. The flower is incredibly fragile, breaking if you take any damage, breaking if you use a stag station, breaking if you're not careful. The journey to deliver the flower is one of the game's most challenging quests, not because of combat difficulty, but because of the care required. You have to move slowly, carefully, avoiding damage, protecting something fragile through a dangerous world. The grave is in the Queen's gardens, and it's unmarked except for the flower you place there. We never learn who's buried there, who Zima loved, why they're in the gardens. But we know Zima loved them enough to mourn for years, enough to ask a stranger to carry a flower across a kingdom, enough to wear grey and call herself the Grey Mourner. Zima was a great knight, one of the kingdom's finest warriors, and now she's a mourner, defined entirely by her loss, by the person who's gone, by the love that remains after everything else has been taken away. When you deliver the flower, Zima is grateful. She gives you a reward, thanks you, and she's still mourning, still grey, still defined by loss. The flower doesn't fix anything, doesn't bring anyone back, doesn't end the mourning. It's just a gesture, a small act of remembrance in a kingdom that's forgetting everything. The delicate flower itself is a mystery. It's described as the pale king's flower, something that shouldn't exist, something that's impossibly fragile and impossibly beautiful. The flower represents everything the pale king tried to create: beauty, fragility, something that requires care and protection to survive. It's a perfect metaphor for Hallownest itself, for a civilization that was beautiful and fragile and ultimately couldn't survive the forces arrayed against it. You can give the delicate flower to several NPCs, and each one reacts with wonder, with gratitude, with recognition that they're receiving something precious. The flower is a gift, a gesture of care, a small beauty in a world of decay. But the flower always dies eventually. It's too fragile to last, too delicate to survive. Like Hallownest, like the Pale King's dream, like everything beautiful in this kingdom, the flower is temporary, doomed, destined to fade. The Godmaster DLC adds the Hall of Gods, where you can fight any boss in the game on various difficulty levels. It's a challenge mode, a way to test yourself, a way to experience the game's combat at its purest. But the Hall of Gods is also a memorial. Each boss has a statue, and when you defeat them, the statue changes, acknowledging your victory. You're building a gallery of conquered foes, a monument to your strength. The bosses in the Hall of Gods are dreams, memories, echoes. They're not the real bosses. Those are dead or sealed or transformed. These are just recreations, shadows, things that exist only in the God Home. Fighting them is fighting ghosts. You're battling memories of things that no longer exist, proving yourself against echoes, defeating shadows. It's a way to engage with Hallownest's past without being able to change it, without being able to save anyone. The pantheons are gauntlets of bosses, long sequences of fights that test your endurance and skill. They're brutally difficult, and completing them all is one of the game's hardest achievements. The Pantheon of Hallownest is the final challenge, a sequence of 42 bosses ending with the Absolute Radiance. It takes hours to complete, requires perfect execution, and most players never finish it. But completing the Pantheon doesn't change anything in the main game. It's a challenge for its own sake, a test of mastery, a way to prove you've truly conquered Hollow Knight. The reward is the achievement itself, the knowledge that you did it. This is appropriate for Hollow Knight. The game is full of challenges that don't change the outcome, full of efforts that don't save anyone, full of victories that are hollow. You can master every boss, complete every challenge, achieve perfection, and the kingdom is still fallen. The people are still dead. The tragedy is still tragic. Your skill doesn't fix anything. It just lets you witness the tragedy more completely, understand it more deeply, engage with it more fully. You become stronger, but strength doesn't save Hallownest. Nothing saves Hallownest. The kingdom is doomed from the start. The Pale King's plan failed before the game began. The infection was already spreading, the seals were already weakening, the collapse was already inevitable. You arrived too late to save anything. You can end the infection, can free the Hollow Knight, can defeat the Radiance. But you can't restore the kingdom, can't bring back the dead, can't undo the damage that's already been done. Hollow Knight is a game about arriving too late, about witnessing the aftermath, about walking through ruins and trying to understand what happened. You're not a saviour, you're a witness, a mourner, someone who sees what was lost and honours it by remembering. This is the sadness at the heart of Hollow Knight. Not that bad things happen, but that they've already happened. Not that people die, but that they're already dead. Not that the kingdom falls, but that it's already fallen. You're walking through a graveyard, and all you can do is pay your respects, honor what was, and try to prevent the final collapse. You can't save Hallownest, but you can end its suffering, can give it a clean death instead of a slow decay. And maybe that's enough. Maybe witnessing is enough, remembering is enough, caring is enough. Maybe the kingdom doesn't need to be saved. Maybe it just needs to be honored, to be seen, to be remembered as it was. This is what we've done tonight. We've walked through Hallownest. We've witnessed its tragedies. We've honoured its losses. We've remembered the Pale King's failure, the Hollow Knight's suffering, the citizens' deaths, the kingdom's fall. We've seen all of it, and we've cared about it, and that matters. Even if we can't change it, even if we can't fix it, even if we can't save anyone, we've witnessed it. We've remembered. We've honoured the fallen kingdom by paying attention to how it fell, and now, finally, we can rest. Let your breath slow completely now. Let the sadness settle into something bearable, something that can exist without overwhelming you. Hallownest is sad. These facts are sad. But sadness is not the same as meaninglessness. The kingdom mattered. The people mattered. The stories matter. They matter because we remember them, because we care about them, because we're willing to sit with the sadness and honour what was lost. Sleep now. Let the kingdom rest. Let the ghost be quiet. Let the tragedy be complete. You've witnessed Hallownest's fall. You've honoured its memory. You've cared about a fictional kingdom enough to spend hours listening to its saddest truths. And that caring matters. It matters that you're here, that you listened, that you let these sad stories affect you. It matters that you're willing to feel sadness for things that never existed, for people who were never real, for a kingdom that was only ever pixels and code. Because that's what stories do. They make us care about things that aren't real, make us feel for people who never existed, make us mourn kingdoms that never fell because they were never built. And in caring, in feeling, in mourning, we make them real. We give them meaning. We honour them by letting them matter to us. Hallownest matters because you cared enough to listen to this. The Hollow Knight matters because you felt sad about its suffering. The Pale King's failure matters because you understood the tragedy of it. These things are real because you made them real by caring about them. And now you can rest, knowing that you've honoured a fallen kingdom, that you've witnessed its tragedy, that you've made it matter by paying attention. Sleep well. The kingdom is quiet now. The infection has ended, or it hasn't, but either way, the story's told, the facts are known, the sadness is acknowledged. You don't have to carry it all. You can let it go, let it settle, let it become a memory rather than an active weight. The ruins will still be there tomorrow. The game will still be there. The sadness will still be there. But you don't have to hold it all right now. Right now, you can just rest. Let Hallownest fade into the gentle dark. Let the ghost be quiet. Let the tragedy be tragic without consuming you. You've done enough. You've witnessed enough. You've cared enough. Now sleep. The kingdom keeps its silence. The void is still. The radiance is gone. And you are here, resting, letting go, allowing yourself to drift into the same peaceful dark that finally, mercifully, covers Hallownest. Good night. The fallen kingdom thanks you for remembering. Rest now. The sadness can wait until morning. Sleep.